Welcome to the Natural Genius podcast. We're here to help you tap into your natural genius. Let's go. I was lucky enough to work with Vasu for a year in a startup that grew really fast, and he was such a wonderful person to have by my side as we all ran fast. His kindness, appreciation, encouragement, discipline, focus, and responsibility and agency is so impressive. He does great posts on LinkedIn about leadership, having principles, and contributing. I'm so looking forward to spending time with Vasu. He is a golden human. Enjoy hearing from him. Vasu, welcome to the Natural Genius podcast.
Hi, Sam. How are you doing? It's been years.
It's been way too long. You and I were lucky enough to be working in a very fast growing startup in 2000 in the crazy start of the pandemic. And you were an absolute shining light. The love that you gave to our team and the wider business kind of context. I think in startup land, a few of us can kind of do lots of different things. And you were very focused on making sure that all of the learning was really great. And you were also a partner to make sure that lots of things got done in a really good way. I must admit, when I think back to 6 years ago and collaborating, I feel like you and me and a few others that worked quite closely together to quickly change the sales conference that we were going to do face to face across Asia, and then and quickly change it to webinars, and they went all so well. And it was partly because we were sick and we just looked after each other and we came up with systems that work, and when things went a bit wrong, we just quickly had each other's back.
That was really exciting time. I still, when I think back on it, I can't really believe that those things happen. It's sometimes really unbelievable that life gets you to a particular point, and we were doing that. You're right, in the middle of the pandemic, meeting a whole bunch of people. It was important, like you said, to have each other's backs. But we did that without people telling you to have each other's backs. I think you hit the nail on the head. And it's a fair warning with somebody who kind of listens to me or, who doesn't know me that well. I'm someone who loves ambition, but I'm also deeply interested in peace, right? So, I can talk about targets and gratitude in the same sentence without feeling really confused. It was a fun time, and we did really good together. So good times and a good start, Sam. That I didn't expect that you would start there. So.
Oh, I sort of feel a little bit sorry for my podcast guests, but here we are. Hopefully our friendship is strong enough and my relationship with the people who come on is strong enough for them to bear with me asking all sorts of curious questions. Tell me, Vasu, another thing that I remember and that I deeply admire and appreciate about you was how much love you bring into the space. And it's not just compassion, you just lead with love. Tell me, where did that come from? What did your it's not every day that I work with people side by side and love is what leads them. Or peace, as you just said then, actually. Probably peace. I probably should be more specific.
Well, they go hand in hand, right? Good question. But one of the most defining moments of my life, and also the one that confuses a lot of people in India, and there's an India context there,
Right.
is that I turned down an opportunity to study at one of the US's top 3 universities. Actually, and I said no. Okay. It wasn't because I didn't value it. Okay. It was because I valued something else at that time. Honestly, my parents, right? I didn't spend enough time with them as a child. I was with my grandparents. I didn't want to spend my adult life achieving while being emotionally absent, if you know what I mean.
Indeed.
Right? Families, love is always silent, but it's real. And when you recognize it, you start making different decisions. Okay. Another favorite moment, I think, honestly, is that came from a phase that really looked unimpressive from the outside. I started working when I was 18. You might know that. I would have told you the story before if you didn't. I was working at night and going to college in the morning. Okay. People teased me. And in India, it's a big thing. You can't do that. It's like, it's crazy, right? You need to have the ambition, get those high grades. They tease me. They said I had no ambition. I'd never make it in life. It's really funny now, because when I tell people, I still am an alumni of one of the top B schools here in India. They look at me like, "Oh, you're joking, mate. You would never make it," right? They remember the tired guy, and they assume that it's the full story. Okay, and then the little moments in life, not career moments at all, but again, becoming a parent, right? My daughter, I think, has been one of my greatest teachers. It's hard to believe. If you remember, you caught up on her in one of our calls, and she's in law school. Can you beat that?
Oh my gosh, she's still a young teenager to me.
Exactly. She reminds me daily and today that life isn't meant to be postponed unless, till everything's perfect. It's meant to be lived while you're still figuring it out. I think
Beautiful.
that's kind of changed the way that I see life. And all of these experiences, and the damn rebel in me, obviously, if it's worth it, I would take that chance. I would always take that chance. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun, and I think that's where the love, the compassion, and everything comes from. Yeah, you can have targets, you can have students to send, you can have people to coach, but if you don't care about what you do, and if you don't care about the people that you do it with, why are you doing it in the first place? So that's probably where I would land with that question.
And Vasu, let me take you a bit further on your commentary just then. I feel my sense with you is that the love that you have for the people is not just those around you. It's not just the direct customers. It's actually the customers' customers. It's almost like you think very systemically through the whole chain of people involved.
Yeah, you have to, right? At the end of the day, I don't think, coming in from a culture like India, your competition depends, okay? Because it's very competitive, you have to manage it very consciously, okay? You learn that as a child, okay? Because you have to see the full side of the story. And that's where I think it comes a little bit more natural to me than most other people. Because I've always chosen it hard in life. I could have gone, to the US, had a great life, chose to stay with my parents. Like I said, did the craziest thing by start to work when I was 18. I didn't have to, I didn't need to, but I still chose what I chose. And a lot of these experiences have just shaped the way that I deal with people and I deal with life. So a lot in there, a lot in there.
Oh, tell me more, Vasu. I feel like there's some more insight for you to share.
Okay. So like I said, when you work in a culture, or when you stay in a culture like India, there's a lot of competition, right? Too much of population. It starts in school. It starts early in the grade. Okay, and if you don't manage that consciously, and it's very difficult to manage, it changes from marks very quickly in school to money when you start working, your salary to job status, job titles, your kids' achievements, and comparison in India is almost inherited. Okay, you have the aunties, you have the uncles, you have everybody, screaming right over you. Okay, so I think the enjoyment of this all begins when you step off that treadmill. And it's a treadmill, right? You're intense all the time, and you have to step off mentally, and even if you stay ambitious professionally, right? So, there was a time when I stopped chasing balance and I started respecting the rhythm of these things. Okay, there are seasons where you push hard, and in our line, it's you push really, really hard in those seasons, and then there are seasons where you slow down intentionally. Trying to keep things equal, for me, would create guilt, would create exhaustion.
Yes.
It's not something that I would enjoy. And something that's come to me probably 6 months ago was on detachment, Sam. Okay. When we were working together, you would see me in there, all focused, all passionate.
Yes.
There,
many hours. Yes.
Right. So I've learned detachment. It'll surprise a lot of people who knew me at that time, but I've detached from outcomes, not from the effort. Right. I'm still very, very serious about the work that I do, but the learning that I've gotten older, I try not to have my self-worth, decided every day by the results that we achieve, right? Or else you end up living like a stock market chart, right? Up, down, panicking, refreshing, panicking again. But I'll say something personal here, Sam. You remember our conversations about Simon Sinek and the why and everything else. Okay. I've broken down a lot of times trying to find my why. Okay. I still break down even today. I used to think that this was weakness. Okay. Now I see it as growth. Sometimes breaking down is how you outgrow those old expectations of yourself and other people. And it's your way of saying that this version of you is done, mate. Upgrade time. Okay. And with all of this, I think humor, and we've always had it, it always helps. If you don't laugh at your stress, it's life. It'll still humble you, But laugh first.
Oh, Vasu, it's always such a pleasure working with you. Tell me about the why. Do you think it's getting more and more specific or more and more refined? Tell me more.
It's getting specific, but I haven't refined it as yet, right? In my head, I've always been focused on building systems, especially in education and career pathways. Okay, a lot of people would not know I started off in finance. Okay, almost did the CFA, and I said, nah, not for me. Again, the retail coming through. Okay, and what do I want to do with these systems? I want to create access without making people feel small in the process. It's very important here in India. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen what confusion costs Indian families financially and emotionally. There's a lot of pressure, right? Like about it's the parents, it's the uncles, it's the aunt, it's your next door neighbor, it's the dog on the Goa beach. Everybody's putting pressure on you. It's a very, very crazy atmosphere to kind of live in. Okay. Sometimes this system is so complex that parents are forced to make life-changing decisions with half information and full anxiety. Okay.
Oh gosh, Vasu. And to give context, we're talking about when they're choosing where to send their young adult to university around the world.
Yeah, around the world, in India, even to a college next door, right? It's not about what's right for the child. It's about what would other people think. Okay. Just because of this, Sam, I'm obsessed with clarity. Clarity for students, clarity for teens, clarity for families. And that's probably why you would see that not just if I'm working with an agent, it's not the agent, it's the agent's agent, it's the student at the end of the day.
This is what I was referring to earlier about systemic concern.
Right. So, and people would always come and ask me, hey, great, you're doing this. What support would you need? Questions that people would ask, right? Honestly, I don't care about funding. I don't care about applause, right? It's a conversation. And we had this when we were working in the startup.
Mm.
Collaborators who would bring in disagreement without the ego, people who would challenge those assumptions respectfully.
Mm.
I think the older I get, the less I want cheerleaders and the more I want truth tellers, if that's
Mm.
a bit there. And if someone's listening and is building in this space,
Mm.
it's simple, right? Let's talk about making outcomes better without making the humans in the process miserable.
Mm.
It's important, and it's important in every walk of life. Now, whether that's education, whether that's building a phone, whether
Yeah.
that's technology, it's very important. And I think, especially in competitive countries like India,
Mm.
where it's very difficult to get a job, where it's difficult to get access. You know, sometimes it's a blessing to get 2 meals a day.
Mm.
You know, people have 4, 5, 6 meals a day and still don't have the gratitude for that. You know, it's those are the conversations that we would want to have in this country and probably in most other countries in the world as well, right? Not everybody is blessed to be living in the bigger nations in the world. Not just by population but by GDP as well, and not
Indeed.
blessed to have calm time, to get the money that they want, to have everything else. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's time for these conversations, or else it gets very stressful in life. So,
Wow. So what is Vasu's why right now, but until the next the next iteration?
for me, I think I'm right now I'm still finding it. I'll be honest. I broke down a couple of days ago. Okay, I'm still the board guy. I'm still the paper guy. So there's a lot of clusters on my board right now. I might send you a picture, Sam. Okay.
Oh, I would love that.
When I find my current why, I'll let you know. The old one, went there when I broke down.
So catch me up, and this is good context for other people listening as well. So catch me up. When you and I worked together at Adventus, that was 6 years ago, you were head of L&D as we grew. And what's happened since? What are the main kind of roles between then and here, and what have you most enjoyed doing?
So,
and actually, and sorry to interrupt. Also, in that, I would love to hear your perspective on higher education and what is happening in the space at the moment from your point of view.
Interesting. So after Adventus, I went back to I went back to another earlier startup where I'd worked. I knew it was going to be for about 6-8 months because that startup was belonged to one of my friends, and he wanted help with something specific, setting US pathways for somebody who's done accounting courses in India. That's where I started. It's always a passion. So, like I said, I'm a builder.
Yes.
Need something to build, I'm jumping in, right? We did that. I did tell him about 6-8 months. That's how much time that I would have. And then I wanted to do a lot of international education sales. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yes.
Worked for a Chinese firm. Wanted to get the context of how stuff happens in China, because I think that's some experience that we didn't have at Adventus because of the walled garden. Traveled to Hong Kong, looked at the culture, looked at the people, understood why those students and the millions of them who want to kind of go out and study abroad. I was there for about a couple of years, and then I moved to one of India's largest edtechs to see if they would be comfortable in taking up international education. I realized 6 months down the journey that maybe it didn't suit them. Reason is it's very simple, right? They do a lot of good work with underprivileged kids in India.
Mm.
And I felt that taking them away from their core of what they're doing would actually disrupt a lot of other things that they were doing right in India.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're very, very famous for picking brilliant kids off the street and funding them to get good education in the country and doing stuff. So, when you take somebody with that kind of a mindset and you kind of invest in international education, it's a lot different, right? That there's this whole spectrum of things that they have to manage with their emotions. So I kind of spent about 8 months in there, and then I realized that they're happier off at their value system because they contribute more to the society by doing what they do.
If something in this conversation lit you up, there's a signal in that. If you want help tuning your own signal into a clear next move, start with a 3-minute signal check-in at naturalgenius.com.au. And if you want focused support, book a signal lab and we'll work through it together. Now back to the Natural Genius.
I currently work for another overseas education company, again doing sales, not doing training, but at a higher education role with strategy and with everything else. The answer to your second question is that the world's changed. Okay, it's not what we saw during the time of COVID. Kids have gotten smarter. They've also gotten more confused in the process, right? And you can blame that on social media. You can blame that on anything, but access to information is always great. I said I find two sides of the coin, even with my own book, right? She would probably give me contexts that are straight off the internet that are not true. But she would also kind of go in and do her research and then come back 2 days later and say, hey, I told you something 2 days ago. I don't think that's true. ChatGPT told me that this was this, and Perplexity said this, and I went and did my own research. I wouldn't imagine somebody who's 19 years old in our day and age trying to get that kind of an information download. But what that has also done within this context is that it's built stress within the system. We as parents don't know how to react to that information because we never had access to that information, right? So the world's changed. Sometimes I would see a confused kid. 6 years ago, it would probably be sit down, try and guide them. Today, it would probably be a psychometric assessment. Okay, let's figure out what these kids have in their sense. Be a little bit more scientific, because that's where things are. So you're starting to use those technologies, you're starting to use those to guide children in the right direction, because they have everything at the tip of their at their fingertips. And in a country like India, it's literally at your fingertips, right? 6 years ago, Amazon was a big thing. You'd wait 48 hours to get what you wanted. Okay, today you can get an iPhone at home in 10 minutes. Okay, that's the speed of e-commerce in India. So you can imagine the information load, the instant gratification, and all of those things that these kids deal with is really crazy. It's right up there. Plus, it's funny. I'll come back to this with my own child, right? We were in these parent-teacher meetings, and there were all these parents saying, we need our kids to get, an A grade, 90%, 95%, to get into Harvard, Stanford. They didn't care about affordability, right? They would just want names, the ANU, whatever they wanted, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And it's extremely funny. They came to me, they said, what do you want for your daughter? I said, 2 things. I want her to be a human, and I want her to be happy. And they looked at me, and they looked at me all confused. Okay, just the same confusion that I would get when I went to college. The rebel in me again, right? I'm like, let her be happy, right? Isn't that important? Isn't that what you want for your child? Oh, success would get you this, success would get you that. But it's fun. It's fun. We'd have to have those conversations sometime. I see this country at that breaking point where kids are getting way too smarter and they want to have those conversations. I don't think the adults are catching up. They will, but it's yeah, but it's going to be fun. Counseling in another 3 or 4 years is going to be a lot different than what we've ever done, right? With
Goodness
with
gracious. That's a lot of extra information, and my heart goes out to parents. You've described that scenario so well.
yeah, I know. It's sad, but it's also exciting, right?
Good attitude.
Yeah, I mean, you kids always from these parts used to be smart because of the competition, but I think they're getting a lot smarter now. So it's just fun. It's good to see.
Tell me more about Vasu. I had to get the work and business stuff out of the way because I really wanted to hear what you've been up to. Tell me about your beautiful family and how they have supported you and vice versa through the years with doing the great work that you do and being a great human, and maybe a bit about your spiritual practice if you want to mention anything about that, Vasu. You appeared to me years gone by as somebody that was effortlessly spiritual or connected to faith, or like just that you carried yourself with such love. It just felt like you were naturally connected, for want of better words.
Yeah, thinking about it, right? My parents shaped me more than they'll ever know. I've not had too many conversations with them about that, right? They shaped me through their sacrifice, through their silence, to their strength. Okay. Like I said, in many Indian homes, love is not spoken loudly, and it's generally shown through responsibility. Okay. Once you understand that, it's very hard for kids to understand that. But once you stop taking these things for granted. Okay. I've also been shaped by the people that you kind of meet when you move through the real world early in life. Right. Today, like I mentioned, e-commerce, right? Thinking 5 months ago, I was out in one of the cities in North India, and I was really hungry. I think it was 10 p.m. at night. Ordered food through an e-commerce app. I had an 18-year-old kid delivering food. Okay, ended up having a conversation with him, and I said, "Why are you doing this?" Because it's pretty close to my heart. You can't work till you're 18, but they started very young. He's doing that because his family had just survived. Very different context. We were doing a project for one of the governments in South India where we were going through rural villages and all of that. I'm in IT before I came into Adventus. I've met teachers who just don't get paid enough. Okay. But they come to school every day and they teach because of that passion. Okay. And I've also met very, very wealthy kids who genuinely don't understand the value of their blessed life because comfort has always been the default. Okay. And seeing all of these things, right? And there's quite a bit in there, Sam, teaches you something, right? That's it. It's just not one story that shapes you. Perspective that shapes you, right? Like I said, at some point you would realize that you're lucky to have just 3 meals a day. And it's funny. It's really funny because basics don't feel like basics anymore, right? We get angry when the Wi-Fi drops. I don't know. Some people treat this like a human rights violation. It's really funny. Okay. Meanwhile, somebody out there is just trying to make rent, trying to make, those 3 meals a day. Okay. I think those contexts and those contrasts made me less impressed by all the noise around me and more respectful of the quiet effort that people are putting in.
Mm.
I'm not driving. When I'm in a cab traveling this beautiful country, just looking out, I'm looking for these people,
Mm.
hoping to have these conversations,
Mm.
understand perspective, and respecting their efforts. It's
Mm.
a beautiful country. You can see all the wealth in the world. Okay, you can see all the poor people in the world.
Mm.
Uh, you know,
Mm.
so yeah, I mean, in those quiet moments of me trying to find my why,
Mm.
this is all the information that I'm putting in, not through ChatGPT, not through all the fake media out there, but with real life experiences with people. And the spiritual side, it's funny again. Okay, born into an extremely conservative Hindu family.
Mhm.
The top class Brahmin tier, extremely conservative. Um, Faith was kind of always imposed upon us, right?
Mhm.
You need to do this. You have to get this done. It's important. All of this, but my idea of faith is again shaped by my experiences. I studied in a Christian Catholic school when I started.
Mhm.
Okay, imagine this: someone from a Orthodox Hindu family getting into a Christian Catholic school.
Mhm. Mhm.
It didn't matter. Um,
Mhm.
so I've read a lot of books when it comes to faith, when it comes to everything else. So it it could be anything and everything. I would still pick up, right? So it could be something from ISKCON where they're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. It could be some excerpt from the Bible. Maybe Tao. I don't know. Socrates. It's so for me, I think faith's kind of evolved. I do believe that there's something higher that's holding us all up, but the base of everything is humanity, right? And with that humanity, you're getting the love, you're getting the respect, you're getting the trust, right?
Mm.
Core belief that every human being is a good person. Okay. Yeah, you would say their actions make them good or bad, their circumstances make them good or bad, but it's today's life. I think the most difficult task is actually being human. That's
Mm.
difficult, right? Sometimes it's a word that people use randomly, but they don't understand the meaning of it. And when you start understanding other faiths, when you start
Mm.
understanding the cultures and the way people believe, um, you know, why do Buddhists do whatever they do? Why does the Hindu community have so many gods? What's the relevance behind them? What's the story behind all of this?
Mm.
It starts to shape you in a completely different way, with the understanding and with the perspective, and
Mm.
yeah, and it starts to make you love people more and not cause too much of hate in the world. So
Mm.
I've been experimenting with faith. I'm not clung onto something, but I do believe that the human values should never really change. So that's where I am at this moment.
Mm. I'm like cheering on the inside, Vasu, because the conversation so far has represented who you were to me years gone by. I'm so, so pleased that other people get to see it. The other thing that came to mind was that you are really appreciative. So I think that appreciation is kind of in my work experience, I kind of wish that it had happened more often. And I think that appreciation can just go so far. And I'm coming from my auntie's school of life, school, I call it the PhD in care and kindness that I got from her. And uh, she would often say something to people around her in thanks. And
Mhm.
I for some people, I think that might have been too much, but I really do think that even strangers deserve appreciation around certain things that they've done. And as you say, 3 meals, 5 meals, being appreciative, it changes the landscape around me, and it feels like it changes the landscape for others when appreciation is there.
Yeah, it does, right? Because that word, people don't relate to it very quickly. Why should I appreciate somebody? Okay, you should, honestly, because it's also three problems that humans carry silently. Okay, invisibility, uncertainty, and fatigue. When those three things pile up, people don't just slow down, they check out mentally. Okay, appreciation tells people that you matter. Okay, I don't know if a lot of people relate to this, right? Most adults today aren't starving for money as much as starving for meaning. Okay, and appreciation is the simplest way of telling them I see you. Okay, and that being seen as fuel. Okay, it's not a motivational poster, right? Nothing that you see at the gym that I see every day. Of fuel. Okay, and it's also, I'm working with kids. I feel that it reinforces the behavior that you want. Okay, people repeat what gets them noticed. Okay, if you only speak when something is wrong, you train that person, you train that child to say to your voice with danger. Okay, appreciation is a human tool. It's also a leadership tool, right? It makes the right actions feel worth repeating. Okay, and I'm a firm believer. It's hard today. Even today, it's hard across our industry and across industries that people work with. I feel appreciation reduces burnout without reducing stress, right? It is.
Well said.
It's a simple. I wouldn't call it a tool. I think it's something that people have to build within themselves, and that's the core of the humanity piece of things, and that's the core of the work that I want to do in the future that I'm trying to figure out. So Sam, yeah, I mean, that's. I think.
Oh, Vasu, the ripple effects that you will create. I'm cheering you on. If it means coming to find some more detailed why or the next iteration of your why, I'm so cheering you on.
That's where I'm leading to. But that's all of that. All of that is actually just piling up on my drawing board. So that's where I am.
Sounds amazing. And Vasu, I think that what you reminded me of in the words that you just said was I think appreciation with specificity is important, and I think maybe for an advanced appreciator like you're used to the specificity. So being able to see someone, I think sometimes when somebody feels seen, I really do think it's because somebody has actually said something like deeply specific, and unexpectedly the podcast episodes that I've done so far, that I've been so fortunate that I've been able to say some pretty specific compliments to people, and they're not meant to overwhelm someone or embarrass someone or humble them. It's actually, this is what I see for them, and it's I hope it comes across as specific, because I think it's so charming for people to actually be seen and feel appreciated, as we're saying, and sort of maybe even have a little bit more specifics around their character or around what somebody else sees that they're good at, and that can maybe even grow out how they see themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of them are listening to your podcasts. I'm sure they are. And my ask for everybody who's listening is not dramatic, right? It's pretty simple, right? I think for me, I think let's normalize emotional honesty. Okay, coming from cultures in India that reward endurance over expression, we need to do that. Okay, it's important to tell people that you're allowed to pause. You're allowed to choose family over prestige, you're allowed to break down and still be strong. Okay. So if you're building something and you know, there's a lot of startups that pop up in this country and around the world, ask yourself this once in a while. Am I building something impressive or something meaningful? Okay. In all honesty, in all my 10, 12, 15, 16 years of whatever I've spent in startups, both very similar from the outside. Okay. Only one will feel peaceful from the inside.
Oh, right? Peaceful from the inside, Vasu.
It's important, Sam. Like I said, I could talk targets and gratitude in the same sentence.
I know.
You know, it's important. What's all the money or all the fame or all the recognition in the world if you can't get a peaceful night's sleep? Nothing.
Or if you can't get enough hours sleep as well. In startup land, we know that well.
Yeah, we know that well, but hours hardly matter rather than, you know, what you're taking into that, you know, subconscious mind. So it's important.
I knew this was going to be a great conversation, and people listening have gotten an impression of how delightful it was to work with you. I'm so pleased that your perspective on the world is now available for others to hear in amongst those others that you work with. Thank you for your time, Vasu.
Amazing. Oh, so good to see you, Sam. One parting word for all of our listeners. I think it's very important for all of us to see a future where basics are respected again, where we started acting like 3 meals a day, safe sleep, good health are normal and not blessings. And if you've not traveled, you'll realize how fragile normal actually is. So my uplifting future, if I have to put it in words, is where ambition and gratitude coexist, because that combination would always create progress without any panic. Lovely to see you, Sam.
A complete pleasure.
To hear other guests on your podcast and see what they think. So it's going to be fun.
Me too. It's so fun. Thanks, Vasu. Thanks for listening to the Natural Genius podcast. Please share this with anyone who came to mind and visit us at naturalgenius.com.au. Thanks so much.